and happy to have Jason with us today, who will provide us with the welcoming opening karakia for this matter. Jason?
Matariki te tupua, matariki te tawhito, tau mai te wairua, mai nā ira atua, ki te ira tangata, tihe mauri ora. Nau mai haere mai no STARlab whānau. Awhatia te whiako hau, kimihia nā ara hau. Me ohorere, koe ia koe anō, tu taua mai I runga, tu taua mai I raro. Tu taua mai I waho, tu taua mai I roto. Kia tau, ai, te mauri tū. Te mauri ora ki te katoa. Haumi e, hui e, taeki e. Matariki the sacred, matariki the old. Welcome the spirit, welcome the life force from the essence of the gods, to us of the humankind. Our life force combined, we welcome our STARlab family. Embrace new experiences, see opportunities, surprise yourself. We summon from above, below, within, from the outside environment to calm and settle the vital inner essence, the well-being of everyone. Be joined together here, united as one. Ngā mihi for everyone here to be present today from our global family. And as we embark on our celestial journey, navigating during Matariki, it is with humble gratitude that given what our global whānau have had to endure these last few years during our environmental impasse, it's important to embrace your process, your health, hauora, and how you can make a meaningful contribution to your place of standing. Which brings us to today, the inaugural opening of STARlab, an organization that will look to explore, bridge research with practical steps, create collaborative support partners to help build a connective environment for the betterment of mātauranga, education, and supporting our communities we endeavour to serve. So I pass you over to the capable hands of our Catalyst 2030 co-chairs of Aotearoa New Zealand chapter, Dr. Marissa Kalaga and Rasha Abu Safia, also the creators of STARlab. Have a connected and inquisitive day. Ngā mihi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. We deeply appreciate it, especially that you are standing in one of the amazing dates that has been building to celebrate Matariki in Auckland, and in this very early time in the morning. So it's a very pleasure and also an honor to be celebrating launching STARlab in this amazing first time for Otago to celebrate Matariki as an official national holiday. We feel that the science has been like connected to reach this amazing time together, and we are looking forward during the coming 50 minutes in order to share with you the more insights about our work celebrating together launching STARlab with me and Dr. Marissa. We have prepared a kind of small presentation to walk with you through the steps we have, let you know more about us and about the work that we are doing, the work we did, and our hopes for the future. And also to have some time together to chat, reflect, and get some insights from you and feedback about the coming steps, hopefully for the coming journey for us and for you all together to join it. We will start with letting you know more about our work, our approach, the current research we are running, how we work, how we collaborate, and how we would like to weave the network together with you. So I'll start by introducing myself to you. My name is Rasha Abu Safia. Just give me 1 minute, it's very early. Sorry for that. So I'm a Palestinian from Gaza. I born actually in the States in Texas when my father was completing his PhD, but I lived most of my life in Gaza. Have been studied and lived in a refugee camp in the north of the Gaza Strip. And I like education was one of the main things important focused in our family in order to be able to find a better future. That was the advice that my father, my mom was always focusing that we need to do. And this is what happened. I've graduated with a first of class with an honor degree in information technology from Islamic University in Gaza. And then the journey of learning and studying didn't stop since that time. Like whenever there's a chance and opportunity to get more new degrees, certificates, like I've been jumping to that opportunity. I have degrees in business management from Harvard Business School Publishing, degrees in systems information management, digital transformation, system change, and multiple other things. I've been always looking to make sure that impact is created within every mission that I am engaged with. And this is where, like, after years of engaging and working in higher education, private sector, and multiple institutions in Gaza, I've co-founded G Gateway, which is an impact sourcing social enterprise, the first of its kind that has created hundreds of job opportunities for youth in the Gaza Strip. And the uniqueness about that model, not just like it's a new model to be established, but because we were operating in one of the most abnormal conditions, operating under a siege, complicated economical and social environment, but also the other challenge that we are facing is toward changing the narrative of the ecosystem toward understanding what job look alike for youth in an abnormal conditions. A journey started with doubts from everyone around us, ended by landing me as a next generation leader in Time magazine in 2018. And the model of the enterprise now is supported by the World Bank to be a regional outsourcing hub. I'm so proud with all the work that has been created during the past 8 years and the Gateway. And then that work made my journey move to another direction from the world, which is a journey I'm so excited about. It started end of 2019 when I moved to my new beloved home, Otago, as an Edmund Hillary Fellow, which is a program for global impact entrepreneurs in order to create impact from Otago to the rest of the world. And currently I'm working as an IT projects manager at Otago University, which is one of the things I'm very interested to see how IT can drive and change institutional work. But also, this is where the time 2 years ago, Marissa and we have been introduced by a mutual friend, Rachel Patler. She's the general manager of Startup Dunedin, a very supportive organization for our model that Marissa will speak briefly as well about the collaboration work that we have created. A 30 minutes coffee with Marissa that's supposed to be just an introduction ended up to a 3 hours conversation, non-ending. At that time, just before the lockdown of COVID in early 2020, it's like we knew that we were doing something. We didn't know what is it, but we know that our values landed together at the same direction. We know we have the same passion. Our experience and work during the past 15 years is meant to happen to meet in this lovely place after all of these years. Many conversations in the past 2 years and landed us to be launching STARlab today with a privilege, happy, and we are looking forward to this journey starting together with also your collaboration and support with us. To you, Marissa. You're muted. Marissa, you're muted.
I always enjoy listening to your intro. It's always quite inspirational and very impressive. Yeah. So my journey kind of on this started quite a long time ago, back in, I would say 2004, 2005, when I was just a young thing and finishing up my first undergraduate degree in international development. And I was working at a university, and the receptionist in the office that I was working in, a young Hispanic woman, was quite excited about starting her own business. And even though she was very smart, had a lot of sales experience, really knew how to hustle, she was really poo-pooed about what she was trying to do. And for about 6 months, she and I, every lunch hour, would work on her business. We would call wholesalers, we would try to figure out paperwork, we would look up what is an LLC and how do you register for it. We would work on logo designs and all the things that it takes to really start coming up with a business. And you know, she ended up leaving that position to work full-time in her business. And during COVID, Pawpaws USA, which is, I'm just giving her a little bit of a plug because I still believe in what she's doing, was asked by the White House of the United States to supply them with gifts for all of the employees in the White House. And so it shows you the amazingness that comes from within people when they have that spark, and we can work to support what's happening there. So since that time, I have kind of taken almost what I've learned from her and built a career around it, around being able to figure out how to support people to bring those dreams to life. And so that kind of led me on an educational journey to do a degree in business, as well as a degree in a master's degree of social work and community and social justice, and then further on to a PhD from the Ohio State University in intervention research and translational research, where I traveled to several places doing research and thesis research, looking at women's cooperative savings groups and how they build trust and social capital and are able to leverage those things for economic gain as well. And so following that, I got a position as Director of Innovation at the Economic and Community Development Institute, which is the largest SBA intermediary microfinance institute in the United States, really focused on supporting marginalized and minority small business owners and entrepreneurs to start and grow businesses. Worked on quite a few projects with them, including a program that I designed out of my dissertation research called Lending Circles, which brought group lending back to the United States to support women resettled refugees to cooperatively start their own businesses, and provided significant social welfare and psychosocial support as well. In addition to that, I worked on a multi-stakeholder partnership to develop capital for construction, which was a kind of three-pronged approach of a kind of innovative lending instrument, a mentorship program, and a training program to support creating a new cohort of minority construction contractors in Ohio. That program has been quite successful at building and developing an industry using a collective impact approach. So those kind of experiences then propelled me to keep going on the journey, looking at how people can really be supported through systems change to create really impactful work. And so I traveled at that point back to my husband's country of Guinea in West Africa to do a Fulbright research and teaching grant. So I was teaching at Université Sinfonia in Conakry and doing research on the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Conakry itself. Is continuing to work on those projects now, but ended up down in Dunedin at the far south of the world here, this beautiful place that we get to call home now, at University of Otago as a lecturer in their social and community work department. So now that I'm here, I teach community development and organizational development. And they're very kind and they let me do it in the ways that I love to do it. So we use a lot of human-centered design approaches and systems science approaches to do those things, which feels very special because they do give me quite a lot of freedom to try new approaches to teach these types of topics. So after I landed here, like Rasha said, we met in a cafe in a beautiful botanical garden and started a conversation that until now has not stopped. You know, both she and I love to work collaboratively. The energy and the ideas that come from collaborations between people are always so exciting. Certainly much better than things that I come up with when I'm sitting at my desk alone at my house. And so over the past several years, we have located shared values and built up a platform of research around those shared values and around the expertise that we both bring to the table. And that's what I would love to share with you today. So you can see here that the stars that we see are things that guide us. So we see the stars as guides. And right here we see the Matariki cluster of stars, which is what marks Matariki here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So you may be on the Northern Hemisphere and you're going through the longest days of your year right now, but we in the Southern Hemisphere are going through our shortest days of the year. And the Matariki cluster is when we see that rise in the night sky, that is the beginning of the new year in the Southern Hemisphere. And there is in the email that I sent you, I sent a link as well to some beautiful resources from the museum in Wellington about what Matariki is. But it's a season for reflection. It's a season for gratitude and also a season for looking forward and renewal and growth. And so we see the stars as guides. So when we think about what STARlab is, rather than just kind of one star sitting alone in the sky, we see the stars all as guides to help on our journey. And we also see the stars as connection. And the part on the bottom there is the system scientist aspect of me. And what you see down here, if you can imagine all of those little red dots are people, and all of those black lines are the relationships between them. Maybe they're friends, maybe they're co-workers. But the beautiful thing that sometimes happens when you're studying network science like this is that when you see huge amounts of connection between people, literally stars appear. So if you look at that, you can start to see that there are some stars in that network diagram. And so when we see stars, it's also showing us that there's high degrees of connection between the people in that network. And so just kind of to share with you a little bit of what the symbolism is for us about why systems transformation action research in a lovely way becomes STARlab. So we are in the University of Otago's Social and Community Work program in the School of Social Sciences here in Ōtepoti, Dunedin. So what we do is applied research, and we do that using an interdisciplinary approach that draws from my background as an academic and also Rasha's background as a social entrepreneur and an IT professional. So we have system science, social innovation, community development, and digital strategies combined in our approach. So we partner with other institutions, so other academic institutions, but also government, community organizations, communities themselves, and walk alongside them to enable systems change through that action research process. And it is oriented towards being socially, economically, spiritually, and environmentally restorative. So when we think about what projects we want to do, that's really at the base of kind of what makes sense for STARlab. So we focus on issues that disproportionately affect vulnerable populations. And we choose the words disproportionately affect really, really strongly because we don't think that there is any social issue that doesn't affect everyone. So if there is violence in my community, even if I'm not a person who is victimized, I'm still experiencing a community that has violence. And so while those social issues do affect everyone, they disproportionately affect vulnerable and marginalized populations. And so while we may be studying those issues, you have to understand that because we're part of that same community, we're experiencing them just in a different way. And that allows us to continue kind of working on that walking alongside approach rather than working on someone or on a community. It's kind of the perspective that we bring. So when we think about systems transformation, Again, we're looking at our communities, however we're going to define them, as interdependent and holistic structures. I've put a diagram on the left of one that Rasha and I worked on. So this is my study on the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Dunedin, looking at the productive relationships between the support organizations. And so we have this beautiful diagram that shows this very developed core periphery structure, which when I pressed the button and saw that and visualized that, was just, my heart was aflutter, because it's just a beautiful thing to see of all the connections between the people in this system. But when we think about systems transformation, we're trying to fundamentally change the nature of the system. And a lot of this comes from the influences of social and community work, being that we understand that there are structural inequities, you understand that there's structural bias. And so working within that system is not sufficient to effectively empower and liberate all of us who are in that system. We need to think about how can we transform it. And so we're looking at the root causes of those shared problems and going actually one step forward to say, okay, what are we going to do about it? And that's why it's so important for us, again, to walk alongside communities and organizations and governments, because ultimately they're the ones that are owning the change and need to be a part of what that looks like, so that they can also have the same motivation to support transformative change. So action research is applied. It is community-based. So involving both action and critical reflection. So the research that we do is not meant to be objective. One could argue that most research is not purely objective. There's always a person at the driving seat, especially in the social sciences. And so we're just quite obvious about the fact that we are trying to support economic justice, social justice, environmental justice at the heart of what we're doing. So a lot of what we do can, because it's so applied, we use different frameworks, and we do use frameworks including human-centered design and design thinking, but very much, and this is a diagram that I've created for one of the classes that I teach, is that all of it can be thrown out the window if it impinges upon authentic relationships with integrity. And so everything that we're doing is based on relationships first and framework second. And so the co-creation space that we use with the people that we're working with is relationship centered and frameworks second. And so just kind of to give you an understanding of really the value is on the relationship and how we work with people. The process is what's important, because that process then can be replicated, and that is what can be restorative, is the process, not the objective. So the way that we have framed things a bit is through alignment with Sustainable Development Goals. And that's mostly due to the fact that we are in this beautiful shared planet. It is a mostly closed system that we're all sharing. Whether we are personally feeling certain effects of climate change, all of us feel some effects of climate change already, and will likely do more in the future. And so this is the best articulated global framework for us to be able to work collaboratively towards global change. And all of our small efforts, whatever projects we're working on, we hope will be part of larger collective efforts to address these interconnected global goals. So they're created through the United Nations and are kind of the second iteration. I don't know if anybody remembers the Millennium Development Goals, but these are now the Sustainable Development Goals. So we're meant to address the urgent challenges that we all share. So Rasha and I, alongside Jason, lead the New Zealand chapter of Catalyst 2030, which is a global organization that supports kind of, I don't know if it's grassroots, it's all levels really, but a very systemic approach to empowering people to address these and share knowledge using social innovation and social entrepreneurship approaches. So currently our portfolio is addressing gender equality, decent work, industry innovation infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities, strong institutions, and partnership for the goals. And so again, just reiterating, we're focusing on the role of social innovation and social enterprise in systemic change initiatives that seek to advance progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. What does that look like? What are the fun parts of that? Well, it's our research that we absolutely adore, working with the people that we get to work with on a daily basis. So I'm more than happy to go through all of these. I'll try not to talk too much about any one of them, but would like to share kind of what we're working on right now. I'm going to start at the bottom actually and end up at the top. At the bottom is a project called Shaping Innovation Futures, and this is our newest research. This is in collaboration with the Eunice Center at Griffith University in Australia. So Dr. Alex Hannant is who we are collaborating with. And I'm quite happy that all the paperwork is signed and all of the agreements are official now. So that's very fun. So we're going to be working with several other organizations in that project to look at how practitioners are in the field working on systemic innovation efforts and try to learn what's actually happening and learn from all of those iterative programs and initiatives to see what works, what's different, looking at context. But it's a very fun project because it's one of those ones that we get to stir things up and see what rises to the top, which is a great way to work rather than going in with a predetermined understanding of what's happening. So we'll be doing that. I think it's over the next 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the 3 years.
Yeah, and so we'll be the Aotearoa partner for that study. And then there's a study I'm working on with Korea University in India, as well as Kennesaw State University in Georgia, around the role of embeddedness in the social entrepreneurship journey of women founders. We have been talking with an amazing set of women in India, Nigeria, New Zealand, and the United States, looking at their relationships and how they impacted their ability to move forward on their social entrepreneurship journey. So really looking at person in environment, we're looking at social environment here primarily to help us understand how they're moving through that social context and give us hopefully some lessons and some knowledge that may help us understand how best to facilitate those journeys for others. Moving up, we're collaborating with University of Auckland's Center for Asia Pacific Refugee Studies with Dr. Jay Marlowe there on a national social network analysis of New Zealand's refugee support services. So it's the first study like this. It's very exciting because we scaled up a methodology that I created for the social network study in Dunedin to see if we could make it go national. And after a lot of fiddling, it did work out thanks to Rasha's Qualtrics skills. Thank you so much for that. And so we've done our data collection and we've got a really great set of data, cleaning it up right now. And hopefully we'll get some insights from that into how the support services are working collaboratively or not, depending on what the situation may be, so that we can best understand how that system as a whole can serve the resettlement process and integration process. One up there, collaboration with Itirerea Collective, which itself uses the constellation model out of Canada to create a partnership organization. It is a resettled refugee entrepreneurship programs that we've designed together, partially out of the refugee entrepreneurship program that I worked on in the United States, the Office of Refugee Resettlement. And so we're working on that right now, doing some intervention research, some efficacy studies around those programs. And then the project at the top, which is the one that right now we are working on, probably is largest in our portfolio, is developing inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystems. So this is research that I've been working on, 10 years now, I think, really looking at what does an entrepreneurial ecosystem look like that, number one, is inclusive, but number two, is restorative rather than extractive across several different aspects. So we started in Dunedin here, and this is similar to some of the work I've been doing in Ohio and in Conakry. We started in Dunedin here a couple of years ago to create the initial social network study and understand holistically what the ecosystem looked like. Dunedin's a really ideal place to do it because it's large enough to have an entrepreneurial ecosystem, but quite isolated. So the boundary specification is pretty easy for this location because it's either the city or beautiful rolling hills. There's really not a whole lot of in between. And so we looked at that, and it was quite impactful for the people that were walking alongside us on that research journey to be able to literally visualize themselves as part of something larger, and to understand how those interconnections create something that's bigger than what they're individually doing in their organization. So drawing on that study, we were able to get funding at STARlab to go now to the entrepreneurs and talk directly to them about how they interact or don't, or choose not to interact with this entrepreneurial ecosystem, to better understand what is working for them, what is not working for them, and also through a set of co-creation workshops to hopefully explore what it might look like to be part of an entrepreneurial ecosystem that not only accepts but celebrates the things that they think that they bring to the table, rather than other people saying what those skills and values are. So that's what we're doing this year, and then working on gathering some support to do a national ecosystem study next year, replicating what we've done here in Dunedin for all of New Zealand. There's quite a bit of support, so we're fingers crossed, but quite hopeful that we'll be able to bring everyone together to be able to do that. And again, saying the impact that this had on excuse me, on Dunedin and the players in the Dunedin system, we can imagine that it could have quite impactful results if we took it to the national level.
Thanks, Marissa. Like all the time when I listen to the work we're doing, so like, this is so impressive. Running this along, having families, 3 kids, like just like they need their time at the evening, but also we also need to keep up with what is going around us, with the different research that is happening with the other people and everything. It's always like, it's a big challenge, but when the challenge is supported and driven by the values inside you and the passion toward creating something different, these steps become smaller and closer. But also when this work happening in a collaboration way, when you build on the skill set of another person that you are working together on this road, which Marissa and others supportive working with us made it easy during the work, it make it smaller. And that approach that we have been applying in our own mechanism and work is exactly the same approach we are also applying on the way that STARlab is collaborating. So it's a research in partnership, a research work that is happening in collaboration with different parties. And in the second slide, Marissa, we are looking forward how we engage and how we are doing the work. We are looking, Marissa, this is not the updated slide. Let me share my. Shall I share my screen? Yeah. Give me 1 second.
One of the reasons it's wonderful to be working on something with someone else. If one of you doesn't have the updated PowerPoint, the other one does.
So, yep. We just move the screen. Yeah. Yep. So Looking to how we engage and what the work that we are doing, we do research and training and the core work of our the value of STARlab, but also we are focusing a lot in giving back to the community and doing external engagement. And under the first direction with the research and training, as we mentioned, it's difficult to do an action research without making sure that we are building the right partnerships. Insights from the community and the people who have the pain point is a crucial aspect in order to make sure that we touch the direct points of making a value and a valuable research. This is where building a community groups and organization partnerships, similar to the work we are doing with the Startup Dunedin, was very critical. Building in these people knowledge on how the connection is happening, how the partnership is happening, has been provided us with a great value. But with the same value that the community is adding to this equation, the work and the support in the higher education institutions is also very important. This is why we work with the University of Auckland, University of Griffith University, and other universities to make sure that we are building in this collaboration. And last but not least, it's very important to make sure the partnerships with the government is built, because with any action research, in order to create that impact, it's very important to make sure we can influence the policies, to change how the mechanism happening in the country. We also, as much as we are looking forward to that, we are also providing support to master's students, postgraduate students, and this is where the area of experience of Marissa is bringing all of this power to the equation of the work we are doing. We are looking forward to make sure this knowledge transferred to other people, supporting research assistants to take a further step, also engage, empower, and collaborate in these pieces of work. On the other side as well, as mentioned, external engagement is a crucial part of how STARlab is looking forward to do engagement within the community. We have a variety of huge areas of experience that we have captured during the past 20 years from all over around the world. Our experience in a different context, what make it different, working either in the Middle East or in Africa or the United States or here in New Zealand, allowed us to understand how the differences of the different contexts provide the different values to the ecosystem, to the people. And this is an area of experience like we are started to share as well in the community here within the work, and we are looking forward to pathways to share that in a wider version through STARlab. We have also participated in the work and monitoring and evaluation work similar to the work is done as part of the Iteraria project. We facilitate workshop and within the ecosystem, sharing the methods, approaches that we are providing in order to make sure that people understand. So when people understand the concept, engage with it more, it's easy for them to adopt and see how this can be reflected within their work. And last but not least, also public speaking, sharing that knowledge when it's just not in our own small circle or the partners we are doing work with, but making sure that if we inspire one person with that public speaking in order to find the new pathways for their work or get inspired in order to make a difference in their life, this is an area we are focusing towards sharing more insights and more engagement. As mentioned, STARlab, it's a systems transformation and action research lab, but also it's the stars that guide us when there is no hope. If you look up to the sky, there is lots of insights, there's lots of guidance, there's lots of support. It's focused and centered around creating social, economic, and environmental justice, because we believe that if you center these values in everything you are doing, you will be able to thrive and bring differences to the community that you are working with. It's applied research because it's very important. From my side as a practitioner working on that for multiple years, it was that connection between the academics to understand the pain point that practitioners was doing was very critical, not captured, hard to establish the conversation. So that research connection applied between the pain point of practitioner, bringing that knowledge and experience to the academic side is very critical. It's an interdisciplinary approach, as Marissa explained in detail, but also we look as well through the systems perspective. There is nothing isolated from connected to other thing. Everything in our life is connected in a way or another. It's weaved in a way or another. So we any change or impact we create on our side definitely is impacting other dots and other nodes in this huge ecosystem we are living in. So we are looking forward that the STARlab is weaving these systems, creating an impact and creating a difference. And indeed, if nothing is providing positive change to make this world a better world for us and the next generation, why we should do it? We should focus to make sure that we have been gifted this planet in order to live it for a specific certain of time, but it's a gift as well that we are giving to the next generation. Our ancestors have gifted it to us. It's just like in our custody for some time and we are giving it back. So we are looking forward that any innovation is providing more positive change, more support to the people around us and for the next generation. A big thank you to all the partners that believed in us, worked with us during the past 2 years and during the many years that with every conversation we have engaged since we started our career, it's built to the life and to the work and the ideas that we are adopting and hopefully sharing and transferring to other. Otago University, Griffith Institute, Auckland University, and our amazing community partner, Startup Dunedin, but also to Catalyst 2030, where we are meeting with a very like-minded people from all over the world, provided us with the perspective that even in our small context, we are suffering from something. It is similar what other people around the world is also facing. They are trying with all of their energy to provide more impact to our Iteria collective, but also to the Global Entrepreneurship Network in New Zealand, which was an amazing landscape to share more about the ecosystem mapping work that we are doing, and indeed as well for Edmund Hillary Fellowship that enabled me to come from jump to Gaza to New Zealand within the old, more difficult context that it has, but it made this work happen for me and opened pathways for creating impact from this lovely place here down in Dunedin. So I would like to thank you all. It has been a pleasure for me and Marissa to share more insights about our work, the journey that we have started, and also the pathways to the future that we are looking forward to establish. And it will be great if if you have any questions or reflections, sharing some insights with us. Thanks, everyone.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to hear about what you're doing. My name's June Hawley. I'm from the Appalachian part of Ohio, not too far from Columbus, Ohio, and author of the Network Weaver Handbook that I think a few of you know about. And, I just would love to support you in any way. I love to read maps. I'm really good at reading maps, and sometimes that's in making sense of them with people. I'm writing a book called Transformation, Co-Creating a World That's Good for All of Us. And so I'm gathering just tons and tons of research that's been done about transformation. And so I'm in early stages on that, but I'd love to maybe get together and share some of that with you, because there's just a massive amount out there. But what I'm finding is that it's not connected. It's like people are doing one bit or another. You've probably seen the same thing, but the theories don't have the complexity with the systems, with the networks. And I feel like that's some of what you're really starting to do. And I'm thrilled to hear that. So just, any way I can support you, I'd be thrilled to, and I hope we can stay in touch.
Absolutely. It's really great to have you here, June. I use a lot of the resources that you put up and have made my own connections through reading some of them and then reaching out to the really incredible people that are behind the work. in those resources. So very appreciative for everything that you do. And we're, I guess, one of the ripples that benefits from that work. So yeah, absolutely would love to talk more.
And for any of the rest of you, if you go to networkweaver.com, there's a great newsletter that about 40, 50 people contribute to, and lots of free resources on network systems change and equity. So
that's an understatement. It's an incredible website, an incredible resource.
thank you, Marissa.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can get some of the stories that you are, the case studies, the examples. We're always looking for blog posts. So just send them my way if you think there's anything that you want to share. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have our official research projects, and then we have our side projects as well. And there's one side project that comes to mind that might be an interesting one for your blog. We have a very grassroots, non-formal collective of musicians and audio technicians here in Dunedin called Save Dunedin Live Music. Gosh, was it like a year and a half ago? I was playing a gig with my band and noise control was called. And just to let you know, I'm a folk singer. So it was kind of ridiculous to have, a bunch of cops show up at a folk music concert. So because myself and the other women in my group are all academics and one of us is a criminologist, we decided, well, maybe we should do something about this ridiculous kind of overreaction of noise control. So we've been working, actually, it's turned into an ecosystem project where we're addressing noise control policy very specifically, but it's been really fun to work with this motley crew of musicians and music folks in lots of different stripes of that word, venue owners and technicians and et cetera. We've been working on that project, and it would be a very fun one. I use it as a case study in the class that I teach around systems change, where you don't need anybody's permission to get started and can just
that'd be great.
Agree with you. Yeah,
I really feel New Zealand is just such a leader in innovation, and so much of the rest of the world doesn't know all the neat things that are happening there. So anything I can do to help.
Yeah, we benefit a lot from Tikanga Maori and being able to draw on wisdom that's much older than a lot of the system science that we're iteration of understanding systems. And so I think it helps to really provide a strong base for that is much more holistic of a ontology than just only looking at it from a science perspective. And I think that does help quite a bit for people trying to getting into systems that may not have.
It's really important. Yeah.
And this is also aligned a lot with the work that Jason is doing in general, and also with Catalyst 2030. Jason, would you like to tell us a little bit more about the First Nation initiative and place of standing supported through the values that is coming from Otago to the rest of the world?
Yeah, thank you, Rasha and Dr. Marissa. What we've been looking to develop has been between, it started just in Australia and New Zealand, and then obviously we're looking to grow just like STARlabs in terms of Indigenous communities and place of standing, because what we found, a lot of people don't see themselves as Indigenous, and yet they have ancestors and they have family members that go back 100, 1,000 years old. And because of our educational additives, that's made them forget about special powers they have and contributions they can give to their communities they serve. And so we sort of forged it a little bit with Indigenous innovation, but also looking at a place of standing for a person around social entrepreneurship and giving to their community. So we've just started to and that come out of our Catalyst 2030 partnerships from Australia, Canada, Botswana and New Zealand. And we know that energy cycle is important to just talk about it. And it helps people to find their place of standing in this very fractured world that we are living in right now. So that complements the STARlab's research and what they're doing, and we see we're getting better and better with it, and we've just started to, and it's all around nature-based solutions, but we've been bringing people back to their place of standing, what they affiliate with when they grew up as a child and when they go through their development, and what they see getting pulled away from them, and we bring them back to their place of standing. But yeah, that's exciting stuff, but it's all in alignment with STARlabs, and I'm very fortunate to have Russia and Dr. Marissa pushing for us for our systemic change in New Zealand, because we must never be too static. We must always be respectful of our past, present, and future.
Thanks. Thanks, Jason. Appreciated a lot. And also another area I would like to share, because most of my career and life has been focusing on how to use technology and technology change. And as you know, technology has been always like disconnected from what community values are. But the enterprise work I've created in Gaza have demonstrated that if you place people in the center, technology can be enabler and supporter. But also a new terms of work we are doing now, it's still in early baby steps. We are driving, supporting Otago University to create its digital strategy. But the approach we are communicated with them is a stakeholder engagement-centric approach and systematic change to focus on what the community need rather than what the technology can apply and support. So these new lenses on how the executive leadership needs to look to their ecosystem is what they're trying to approach and advocate for the work. A long journey needs more and more time, more conversations, but at least a few good signs started to show up in our way. So we are excited and to do this mixing between the social and community work, practice, community, technology. We wanted to connect all of these dots together in order to be able to build our shining star. If it shines in our STARlab, it will also shine within the communities that we are supporting. Yeah. Thanks, Charlotte.
I have a question, and I'm the late person, so I might have missed it in the beginning. So I apologize for that in advance. But with the applied focus, and I think the rich experience that you both bring in different contexts, I'm curious to hear a little bit about if you see your work being sort of local to global or global to local, or just all over the place in terms of where the nexus of change is, and then how you connect that to other initiatives.
Yeah.
Do you want to take it? Do you want me to take it?
I can start a little bit about it, because Marissa and I, we've been talking a lot about it. We came from the world to New Zealand, but now we are in New Zealand to the world. So this has been a perspective considered, but we still have all these parts in ourselves about the rest of the world. So because I've worked in the Middle East and in other areas, Marissa from the US and other areas, we have the world inside us. So it's also a concept that we would like to bring. We wanted to move this work from New Zealand to the rest of the world, but also we're trying to bring some of the work happened around the world into New Zealand. And this can apply to any perspective or any project. This is just my ad. Marissa, to you.
Yeah, I feel like my response might sound a little bit like, I don't know, cheesy a little bit. So the way that I really conceptualize it is more around skating on a network. So rather than thinking of it as necessarily nested, I think of it more as networked. So when you think of it as networked, you can see, almost visualize the connections between all of the different places. So you can move quite easily from an individual interaction to a policy interaction to a policy interaction in another country to community level intervention in that country, and being able to see the kind of multiplex relationships between all of those different points of intervention. And so maybe seeing them from that perspective means I don't necessarily see them as, I don't know, like as one or the other, but connected through multiple points. And so there's generally ways to get from one place to any other place. if you can visualize or identify what those connections are.
And to add a little bit to that too, Becky, in terms of what you're talking about, that that systemic down to operational level, our ancestors sent me around 100 countries in the last 20 years. And so I've been very fortunate to experience people, culture, and design in these different countries. And in terms of what Dr. Marissa and Rasha are offering and bringing to the table and to our universe is that balance of things. And so the balance is so important when you do go to look at whether you're addressing a systemic addressing or you're looking at an operational level in terms of helping that organizational process. And I often thought, why am I being so fortunate enough to go around to these different countries and meet heads of state and meet the person on the street make helping value? And then I realized it's because it's brought me to this place of standing where I can contribute in my small way to the universe.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it, because it's almost like you can think of it almost like a Rubik's Cube, where you're carrying it with you and you're just looking at different combinations at any point in time. So when you're talking with the head of state, you still have the interaction with the person on the street, you're carrying it with you. And then vice versa, when you go back to that, talking to the, the person on the street, then you carry the interaction with the policy person with you. And so you're really just kind of fiddling a bit, looking at the same thing from different perspectives.
So we know we passed like 1 minute toward our time, but we felt so honored to have you all with us today to share more insights about STARlab, the steps we are looking to do, but also we are looking forward to keep these connections alive, to establish more conversations and try to see how it will take us further to the next level. Like every conversation start over a cup of coffee or a Zoom call like this one, and it may last for years and years and years and create multiple impact around us. So thanks everyone, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today, and we are also looking forward to keep the connections stated for many
and I'll
other
just close it
opportunities.
off for us, Rasha, if you're
Yes.
finished.
Yes,
And,
thanks Jason.
And thank you everyone for being present. So tihe mauri ora, tēnā koutou no STARlab whānau, kua mutu a mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, manakitia mai mātou katoa, o mātou haua, o mātou whānau, tera pēr ka whakamohio e koe o rangapono, ai o ki te rangi, haumi e, hui e, taiki e.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. And thanks, everyone. We wish you a lovely evening, afternoon in the States, and a lovely morning here in Otago.
Yes, and happy Matariki, Charlotte.
Yeah.
And Jason.
And take care, June and Chris. Lovely to have you here.
Yes,
too.
thank you. And
Yeah.
please stay in touch. I'm just so excited about what you're doing. So all the best.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, June.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Charlotte.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Mā te wā.
Mā te wā.